Hello there, and welcome into this edition of Midweek. We are so thrilled to have you with us. Pastor Owen here. I've got some guests with us this week as we step into more conversation coming downstream from Sunday. If you were not able to join us Sunday, either in person or online, I encourage you to go back to our YouTube channel, which is where you're watching this right now. Go back in there and find this Sunday's message from Pastor John. Truly, really good sermon talking about this topic of the way of the apprentice is what we're talking about. And it's all about this idea of becoming like Jesus, becoming the person that God has made us and rescued us to become, and what that process looks like. So go back, watch it, and then this conversation will just kind of hopefully amplify that, make more sense in your life. So I've got a couple people I want to bring on with me. One you recognize, and one that is brand new. And I know he feels a little nervous about this conversation, and he should, because this could be his first and last midweek appearance ever. So I'm going to bring these guys in. We got John with us, Pastor John. Hello, my friend. And then with us, first time ever on midweek, it's our very own Kenneth. And we are so glad you're here, Kenneth. Hello, my friend. Welcome. But yeah, there's a lot at stake here for you. I mean, this could very well be your first and last midweek appearance. So
feel the pressure.
Yeah. Kenneth.
Owen, we need some kind of, like, when we bring somebody on for the first time, like, we need something that we do, like, you know, whether it's a hearty clap or it's a
kazoo.
Like, when you get stream kazoo, there we go. You got one of those.
Yeah.
Or a can of beans. We give them a can of beans. I don't know.
Oh man, yeah. This is a little known fact about me that is an embarrassing fact, and that is I am the owner and operator of an electric kazoo. So you can kind of plug it into like guitar pedals and stuff. It works just like an electric guitar, but it's a kazoo. And this is, let's just say my wife loves this. It's great. So I can crank that baby up.
At some point, you know how Jala does, like, you know, the smooth whale sounds underneath, you know, wrapping up a message or the host spot?
Yeah.
Dude, it's you on the kazoo.
I'm in there
one weekend.
You know, doing that little, giving that little vibe, you know, when you end your sermon and, you know, the keyboard comes out, Preston starts to play. I'll be like, no, I got this, Preston.
There you go.
Just me out there with this, setting the mood. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I didn't even know electric kazoo even existed, like, if I'm honest, until you sent me the video of you playing the electric kazoo.
You know,
never heard of it before.
This is what happens when you are on, you know, searching late at night for weird musical instruments. That's kind of it's a weird thing for me. It started out with traveling, like my past missions pastor life, where I'd go to these different places, and music's kind of a fun thing for me. It's just like a hobby. And so I'd start collecting these different weird instruments from the places I would go. And it was like a little souvenir that I could also mess around with and just have fun with it. So that's turned me into this path of like, hey, you know, I'm a sucker for a weird musical instrument. So when I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, I got to be getting one of those electric kazoos. So yeah, let's just say my wife is just feeling really good about her choices in life every time I pull out that electric kazoo. Oh man. Well, anyway, enough about that. Let's talk about we got to talk about Kenneth, man. A lot of us don't know who you are, which is actually a real loss for our church. You're an awesome dude, and you're holding down some pretty key practical areas of ministry for our church. So before we get into our midweek conversation, just real quick, you know, who are you and what do you do as far as where you fit in the Heights family?
Well, like you said, my name is Kenneth. I am the local outreach coordinator. I work with Colby Millsap. And I am in charge of the kind of facilitating the Finance Forward program, which is our kind of like revamped benevolence program, financial assistance, where we can walk alongside people and help them with financial issues finance education.
Yeah, that's cool. Kenneth and I have gotten to know each other through Prescott Valley food shares. Those have fired up again. Kenneth's been out there helping coordinate that as part of the local ministry. And then even what's been cool is coming downstream from that, we've been able to actually funnel some people even toward Finance Forward. So it's people that are part of our food shares. It's like our next step to connect with them, help them stabilize in life. And Kenneth is, front line on that, helping people get help and hope with their financial challenges, especially. So you're a perfect guy for that.
That's awesome.
Too. It's pretty cool.
Kenneth, what's the biggest surprise you found, like stepping into, whether it be the food share stuff or stepping into the Finance Forward? Like, what's the part that like triggers, man, I love this part, or this has been a surprise, like I didn't expect this? Is there a piece of that stood out?
I think the thing that I loved the most, that I was most surprised by, was just being able to meet people, talk them, being able to connect with them through hard times. Usually being in the front end of a church, never having worked for a church, it was always the good parts of it. But realizing that you can connect just as deeply with someone over despair and heartbreak and trials than you can with joy and celebration. So just being able to walk beside someone and being honored enough for them to share what they're going through it's been so fulfilling. So that's been a huge surprise, how much edification and joy I get from that.
And I think like that's like you talking about that surprise, it triggers for me, like for people to get to see you and meet you on MidWeek and in person, like, and then connect the dots for them, that when they have somebody who shows up in their world, maybe it's a life group, maybe and they're going, man, the bottom's falling out, what do we do? Like, to know a direct link to you is where they need to get connected. Like that's a beautiful thing. Cause I think, man, we all face that. We all get in the trenches with people, and to know that there is somebody who's got eyes on that's walking alongside people, it's awesome. So thank you for what you do.
Yeah, I think that's something a lot of people in our church just don't know exists. I mean, and it's a huge part of what we do. Thanks to the generosity of our church family, we get to step in at a crisis point in life for people. And, they see the problem, being they've got a financial need, which is a real thing. But then as followers of Jesus, we have eyes on the levels below that, like, where's this coming from? And just being able to step in with people, love them in a season where everything's going sideways. I mean, you know how it is, like the people in your life that are with you when times get tough, like that's when you know who your real friends are. Right. So because of Finance Forward, a lot of people know they got a real friend, and it's Jesus through us, which is amazing.
Right. Yeah. And kudos to the church. I mean, they've been so generous with giving us resources to not only help our church family but those who are in the general public who don't necessarily go to church or know Jesus, or are just making the rounds with social service agencies. The community is well versed in, hey, Heights Church is where you go when you have a need. And that opportunity, through the generosity of our church family and leadership, and always being there in the community, people know, hey, this is where I go. This is where I can go. And we're able to show them the love of Christ through our relationships in them. It's not conditional. It's just, hey, this is who we are. And you can have this too if you want it. But we just show it by example. So
love that.
It's awesome.
Well, okay.
Little known fact about Kenneth, though.
Yeah. Okay. I like this.
So he is the donut master of the office.
I almost was going to have a donut in my hand.
Dude, straight up, man. Every time his door, his table and his door, like is my, okay, I just got to make it past. Just got to make it past. Don't stop.
Yeah.
But no, it's a beautiful thing.
Every time I walk by his office, I'm just yelling, "Get thee behind me, sugar!"
Yeah.
As I'm just walking by there.
Yeah. I don't know how that. Shout out to Bosa Donuts. Thank you for the extra
there you go.
10 pounds.
Yeah.
I figure if I get everyone to gain as much weight as me, it'd even out.
I like that. Good strategy. Everybody that's in the chat, you guys can throw out a donut. Find that donut emoji and hand one to Kenneth right now. He needs it.
Man, I was literally in a meeting the other day, and somebody in the meeting was like, "I got to go see Kenneth." I'm like, we're not done with the meeting. He's like, "I just need a donut."
It's not a financial issue. It's a donut issue.
Yeah.
No, the office is the committee or meeting break room where everyone goes for a break. So
Awesome.
I enjoy it. It gets people to come in and say hi.
Yeah,
it's good, man. It's good.
Okay, so circling this gently back to the conversation on the table this week, talking about this whole apprenticeship and experiencing Christ's love. I mean, I love that, Kenneth. Like, one of the things that you love about what you're doing now is getting to be a person that's on the front end of expressing Jesus' love to people that are desperately needing it. And I know that with you have a story that really resonates with that in a pretty deep way. And, we brought you in here to talk about Finance Forward, but also to just share encouragement on what it looks like when someone, in your case, you have been following the way of the apprentice, And so I don't know if you're up for it, maybe, talk about what got you from where you were to where you are right now.
So I was raised in a loose church down in Santa Clarita, California, Southern California. Raised in, my parents were good people, married until my dad passed away. Really, I mean, there were issues and stuff like that, but they ultimately found Christ and brought us up in the ways of the Lord and the Bible and stuff. But around 18, I started to use drugs and kind of walked away from Christianity. Was kind of like a little trophy for me. It was part of the check your boxes. Okay, I accepted Jesus. I got baptized. Then I go to church on Sunday. Okay, I'm going to put it on that shelf there. Let it collect dust. So not realizing that it was a live, moving, engaging, relational thing. So at 18, I started doing drugs and walked away from God. I was really wrapped up in that for most of my life. So over 22 years of pretty intense drug use. As I walked through that, I rededicated my life for Christ. All throughout those years, it was, okay, I'm going to try to get sober and go back to Christ and go to a church and kind of be wounded by the church or wounded by something someone said and kind of retreat back to what was comfortable for me, which was drug use. And it really masked what a real issue in my life was. So eventually, fast forward, I rededicated my life, went to a Christian rehab, the third one I had gone to. This one was Christian, is the first one. And rededicated my life to Christ. And it became more, I took that trophy down, really started to examine what that would look like. And I got to that point because there were people who were already disciples of Christ, who had an active and real relationship with Christ, who were giving that back to me. Like I think John had mentioned Paul saying, follow me like I follow Christ. They were taking that example of, making me their apprentice kind of, and loving me in a way that I had not been loved before by not only a man, but a person of Christ, and really reflecting what Christ's love and life and grace and mercy and the cost of what that was looked like. So it was a lot of men and a lot of churches of people just loving me well, that I was able to get sober. And once I got sober and I was able to lean more into trusting other people, trusting the church, and trusting God, that, God really called me out of same-sex attraction. I was heavily involved with the gay lifestyle in West Hollywood, and I worked in the movie industry, and so I lived that whole life that you would think of. It's kind of cliche, but that whole LA lifestyle. But as Christ called me out to be a disciple, I realized what that cost was. And the cost was, it says, I just started reading Dietrich Bonhoeffer, The Cost of Discipleship, and he says, when Christ calls a man, he bids him come and die. Really. So instead of putting that trophy back on the shelf, it was really, and seeing that example in other men, it was calling me to turn myself inside out and really just die to myself and pick up that cross and follow him. So I know I'm kind of rambling, but
That's awesome, man.
That's kind of the story. So in condensed form.
Incredible.
Oh man, I first of all love it. Every part of, like, God being faithful, God walking alongside, but just the courage to respond. I think for me, like, it's inspiring. It's encouraging. I guess a question that comes up, like that's such a massive decision. You go from LA lifestyle to Prescott, Arizona. You know what I mean? Like that's such a upside down, but it is, like you say, it is that decision to come die. And other than, I guess kind of on a practical side, other than you had people in front of you that were doing that had done that. What was it? What did the process look like of come and die? Because I'm assuming it wasn't just like you're reading Dietrich Bonhoeffer, like that's not a starting point. You know what I mean? Like,
no.
Dietrich's not where you
church. Not where I started.
Yeah.
This is probably a 10-year process. This was really, I got sober and I rededicated my life in 2005 and that's when I went into that last rehab, and I really started to say, yeah, I can't do this. I'm gonna die. So suit up and show up. That's pretty much what I told God. I was like, let's just get real. I need you here in a big way. And I kept hearing people say, pray for God to change your heart. Pray for God to expose those things that are hidden. It was just something I had never experienced before, seeing, people living that example of, what are you going to give for it? Salvation is free. Discipleship is not. It's got to cost some. It cost Jesus everything, right? And he commands you to do this, right? To die, pick up your cross and follow me. Well, what did Christ do when he picked up his cross? After he was flayed and beaten, he picked up that cross and brought it up on a hill and then died on it. So I really had to look at, and this is people guiding me and speaking into my life over many, 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 many years of, okay, a little deeper, like an onion, peeling that onion. It was, okay, I got sober. I'm sober-minded now. Now I can really dive into the word and understand and let that Holy Spirit work on me from the inside out. And then as those layers came out, it really was the core of it was like, oh, well, you haven't given up your lifestyle yet. You have not given up your identity that I had created for myself. And that was my cross, was like, if you love, you have to love Jesus enough to not love yourself anymore. And that was the last thing that I was like, okay, I thought it was the drugs, and I got sober and I was still miserable, and I thought it was work, and I thought it was money, and I thought it was everything. And I was like, no, Christ commands me to do this, that my body is a temple. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to let it go.
Wow.
Kenneth, that's incredible, man. I mean, you literally just
Wow.
did like 5 sermons in 2 minutes. Awesome. Seriously. Okay, so here's a question I have, because, well, first of all, observation. So your life is matching your hope for who you become. I just want to encourage you with that, because here you are, going from the LA lifestyle to, working in a, dark office in a church in a town in northern Arizona. From on paper, that's going backwards, right? Like your life is not getting better, it's getting worse. However, do you understand that what life is all about is not about that, image maintaining and improving and getting more comfortable and getting more successful? It's actually pursuing Jesus, which led you here. So your outside view, life's gotten worse in many ways, but the inside, it's gotten harder. Yeah.
It's immeasurably harder.
What's harder about it now?
Everything. I mean, life was great when I was in my sin, like, to be honest. Like, I had no consequences. I had no conscience. I was free, but I was dying on the inside. What was the question again?
Was it? Why is life hard? Why is life harder now?
Because obedience is not easy, right? Like, it's not in my nature, right? My nature, I have sin nature, so I'm trying to correct a lifetime. I'm 45 now. I lived over half my life under the influence of heavy drugs and living a terrible lifestyle. So I have to. Christ is helping me recorrect that trauma. Like, we forget sin is trauma, right? It's traumatic on our spirit and our flesh and our mind. So it's a process of walking away from that. I lost a life, technically. It wasn't one that was worth anything, but I left a life, and I left an identity, who I thought I was, that I had wrapped my whole being in. I left a career. I left a community, and what I thought was family, right? They weren't really my friends or family, because as soon as I said, hey, I'm not gonna, the first step was, I'm not identifying as gay anymore, because that's not who I was like, that's just not who I am. And that was the Holy Spirit working on me. But it was just like, this isn't what I do. Sexually is not who I am. So I'm not going to say that anymore. And then that started the snowball of, who have you been talking to? What have you done? Like, well, I got sober and I found Jesus. And then it was like, peace out. Like, literally that tolerance and love and stuff that is so widely preached in that community was not, continued once you say you're not part of that anymore. So that was a huge sacrifice. But in hindsight, look what I have now. Like, my life is I could have never prayed or imagined in my wildest dreams that my life would be this good. Like, I could have never have imagined it. Like, if you would have told me, in 10 years, you're going to work for a church and you're going to have an amazing church family and this group of people in Prescott, I would have laughed at you. So, and I moved here knowing no one. And I have to say, I mean, I did know Ron and Mike from my old church in Santa Clarita, but I wasn't running around going, I know Ron Merrill, I know Mike. I came in through the Elements program at Heights, and kind of like the back door, and was just I want to see what this place is about and what these people are about. And you guys have everyone has been so great.
Well, that leads me to another question for you, because now I'm thinking about our church family and who we want to be and who we are becoming. And I think, hearing your story about this kind of cycle that you had where, in your growing up years, you had some church, you had some Jesus mixed in there. You had, a long season of stepping far away from that. And then if I heard you right, you had this kind of cycle of like, you'd pop in to church or something, like trying to reconnect with that. And there were many times that didn't work well. And then the last time it finally did, right? So I'm curious, like, what was it about that last time when either people or church, like, what was it about that this time something happened? God used it. Holy Spirit was in that.
I think it was, and I don't like to, it just wasn't the right time for these other churches. I went to a lot of big churches in Southern California, all up in, major church you could name off, I probably went to it. It was Grace Baptist Church, and there was a pastor named Brad Beers, who was the young adults pastor, and he was probably the first person I told that I struggled. I'd lived different lives. To my parents and everyone, I was this person, and then I had a work life, and then I had the gay life. So I kept those very separate. So he was probably the first person I told that actually listened to what I said. And was like, look, I have no idea where you're coming from. And this was 2005, I think. So this was quite a while ago before things were so mainstream. But he was like, I don't know where you're coming from. I don't know what, I can tell you what the Bible says, and I'm going to love you really well. Like, he didn't push me away. He wasn't like, whoa, and the church just walked alongside me. They didn't treat me any different than anything else. They loved me well, but but the Bible and Scripture being at the forefront of everything. It was like, we love you. This is what the Bible says. Let's help you walk through that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow, it's awesome.
So
that definitely hits the heart of everything we've been talking about from the perspective of discipleship, and specifically taking discipleship and looking at it as an apprenticeship.
Right.
And I think your journey, talking about the years that you walked and the amount of people that walked with you, but it was these, I'm assuming, I'm reading between the lines now, but it was these constant choices that just click the needle in your life a little closer to what God intended for you. And I think what's beautiful, while coupling with the harder, I think it's always, it's that whole side of, it's easier to go. I know right now, for me, when stress is heavy, it would be easier to go numb that with, take your pick, go veg out in front of the TV, run to a bottle, run, like that is always an easier option, because that, versus staring what is in front of me in the face and going, okay, Jesus, how do I walk through this as if you were living my life? What does that look like? How do I handle this in a way that, man, you died for me to have the privilege of handling it this way and walking through it this way. And I think what's beautiful is to hear you talk about the wholeness that you feel now versus three separate essential life elements. I remember for me, I remember as a teenager, like, I had to take the bus to school. I would cuss up a storm on the bus on the way home. I'm smoking in the back seat, and I get off the bus and it's gum in the mouth, it's cologne on the shirt. And I lived at a Bible school. My dad and mom were working as missionaries at a Bible school. We had 75 steps up to this thing. This place was on a hill. So 75 steps. And on the way up those steps, it was like this transformation happened from, who was just on that bus to who was going to walk through that door, and echoing your journey, like that's something that God, it's taken years and years and years for God to walk with me in every space and go, I created you to be you. I created you to be unique in Christ. But as you walk into this space, you're the same person that walks into home tonight.
Right.
And that journey of discipleship is that what we leave is Jesus in each space, right? But it is like, just echoing what you said, it's hard, and it's a long journey, but I think that is the way of the apprentice we've been talking about.
Right.
But
yeah, and it makes me wonder how many people we miss out on, like, because we wait for them to reach a level that we feel like now's the time when, oh, they'll get it now, or now they can step into, you know, discipleship, or, you know, like the way of thinking where you have a certain kind of, you know, the whole, you know, don't cast your pearls before swine kind of thing. We get that in our head and we think, well, this guy's not ready. Wait for him to kind of show us a few things, and then versus,
or we rush him, right? Or we rush him to the end.
Exactly.
We want them to be whatever version of Jesus we think they should be. We try and rush them to that conclusion versus, I mean, we're going to walk with you in the midst of transformation. Transformation takes time. And I think, echoing it, absolutely, Owen, I think we jump to, and we are uncomfortable, we being church, family, whatever, like we're uncomfortable, so we've got to get you to a destination that makes us comfortable.
Right.
But a lot of times that destination isn't what Jesus has for the person.
Exactly.
Sorry, go ahead.
I could feel that at a church. What kept me, and this was my own thing that I had to work on, but I felt I had to reach a certain criteria in order to enter the church. I was like, well, I don't have enough clean time, so I'll go. I could never go high, so I'd be like, okay, I have to be completely sober, so I'd have to wait a week. And then I'd be okay to enter the church, but I had to sit in the back. And it had to be, well, I don't kind of look like everyone else, so I'll clean up a little bit, and then I can approach someone, right? And that went on forever. And I realized it finally got to the point where I was like, no.
Yeah.
God, there was no, Jesus never said, well, you know, why don't you clean up and come back?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Jesus' invitation is, come to me.
Come to me, all who are weary.
Exactly.
You
Not
know,
all who are, you know, sober and shaved and showered, right?
Yeah,
you know,
talking about discipleship, I started really diving into what did that look like? What was Jesus' criteria, and what was, you know, it was like, of course he knew their hearts, but really he was just like, hey, you two, hey, fishermen, come on, let's go. And they were uneducated. Fisherman was like the lowest thing probably that you could do. No education, manual labor. You're just on the beach throwing nets into the water. And they literally left their nets and walked with him. Like, a fisherman's net is their livelihood, right?
Yeah.
Just literally left them. And there were even two more who left their father. Who was it? Two brothers, John and Zebedee, or James and John, were in the boat with their dad and ditched their dad and followed Christ, and then they immediately went teaching. And I was
what's crazy with that is they got everything they ever wanted.
Yes.
Because their nets were full. That was the lottery. They literally just won the lottery. They got, as far as the dream went,
yes,
this was the moment, right?
Right.
This was the moment we go from one fish shack to two, you know, like we're a chain now.
And I used to read that and go, wow, that must be so cool. Like, I don't know what that's like. And it was like, eventually it got to the point where it was like, you have the Spirit of God living inside you, right? How much better is that than walking with Jesus, is that he's living inside you. And he has called you to do the same thing. You just don't want to drop your net.
Yeah.
Right?
I just read the whole section in John where Jesus talks about, eat my flesh, drink my blood, like the whole, like, and then people are like, man, I don't know. And it gets down to the disciples. There's the 12 of them. He goes, you going to leave? And Peter's like, where do we go, man? Like, we know you have the words of life. We're screwed. We're here. Like, there is anything else is secondary, but this is really weird at this point. Like,
Right.
And yet that is like, that's my journey. The further, there's moments of my life where, opportunities have come or different things. And you go, I know if I took those, it would be secondary because God's called me here and he's doing a work here. And it's those moments that it's like, I could go do that. That sounds awesome. That would be amazing. But the words of life, I'm not leaving the words of life because everything else is secondary.
Yeah.
And that's the hard, because it's not comfortable and it's not fun at times,
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and you think about how hard it is to drop those nets, back to the, this is life. I mean, even though you're scratching out a living and you hate it, but it's all you got, right? So why to drop those nets and to take up Jesus on his invitation to come and follow is so hard. I think that's where my heart is at for me, for our church family, for each of us, is just let's do everything we can to remove any extra barrier in that moment. Like, it's already so hard, but let's not put extra, okay, drop your nets and then, pull yourself together, get showered up, get shaved, get sober, and then come follow me. Like, why put extra barriers in the way? Like, we got to lower it as much as possible by leading with listening and love, just like what happened with you, Kenneth.
Yeah, and I think if we call people, right, if we're preaching discipleship, we need to be sure that we're there to catch them when they drop their nets, right? If we, Jesus didn't say, hey guys, drop your nets and I'll see you over here in a month. You're on your own until then, or, you know what I mean? He was there with them the whole time. So I think, and that's hard. It takes a lot of sacrifice and a lot of hard work, but
that's so good.
It's an ongoing thing, and so many people, and it's kind of like that sower in the seed thing. It's like that first pastor who heard me, Brad Beers. I don't think he's a pastor anymore. I think he's a cop now, but man, God bless him. He may not see this come to fruition right now. He doesn't know I work for the church in Prescott and stuff, but there's so many people who have sprinkled soil and water and stuff into a life, and yet they may not see what has come from it, but we need to be prepared for that. And I think this church has done a really good job with that.
Kenneth, man, we got to have you back to talk more.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Love
Definitely.
you, man. Your heart, you on it, my friend. It's the best. The best.
So anyone out there, Finance Forward, another plug, Elements. We're going to be starting back up in October. That's a great faith-based recovery program that incorporates the 12 steps along with the Bible, because one doesn't work without the other if you're an addict. And then Finance.
That's the 22nd, right? October 22nd at Heights. It's a Thursday night.
22nd. They also do the Elements podcast, where you can see me and Earl and some of my buddies talk about recovery. Also, there's that, and then Finance Forward. Everyone, please don't feel like you're embarrassed or anything to come to the church if you need financial help. We have a very generous church. More. I've been vulnerable and open with my story. Trust me, I've lived in my car. I've gone through everything everyone's probably gone through. So I'm here and I'm open to talk to you guys, and we're here to help you. So
that's beautiful. And Elements, you guys are on Facebook, right? That's probably like one of the easiest ways to find it. They just search like Heights Church, Elements. They're going to find you. Elements Prescott, that's the way to do it. Yeah, they'll find you, and there's all kinds of resources, and that's just the tip of the iceberg of everything.
Yeah. And then, of course, you can reach me at the church. for anything, if anyone needs, if you're struggling with addiction or anything, I'm part of that team, and I can connect you with Earl, or if you just want to pray or anything, just hit me up at church.
Kenneth,
Awesome.
love you, my friend.
Thanks, man.
Awesome conversation. Awesome example. And man, we could have rolled about another half hour, so it's kind of hard to tie a ribbon on this one. But John, love your message on Sunday. I love the focus that you put on who we're becoming like. And, it wasn't the centurion. It's not the people in the Gospels. It's Jesus. Yeah. And looking for him as that example. And then putting that on the front door, right? Inviting people in, loving, listening, not waiting for people to get themselves fixed up first. And then not rushing them in the process, that apprenticeship. That slow process of someone trying it out. It doesn't work. Someone that knows a little bit more shows them how to try again, and that's rinse, repeat, right? So this Sunday we'll continue that Way of the Apprentice sermon series, and it's well worth the time. So we'll tie a ribbon on it here, my friends. If there's anything we can do, like Kenneth mentioned, we're here to walk with you from Elements, Finance Forward, so many other ways. Sunday, keep in mind, we are both in person and online. Both are great experiences, and you are completely welcome to. So whatever your comfort level is, wherever you are in the country, we got people all over now, part of our church family, thanks to COVID. So wherever you find yourself with us on Sunday. We'll be in person at 8:30 and 10:30. And then we'll be online 10:30 and 6. So jump in, and keep in mind, this Sunday we are celebrating our kids ministry reopening too. So if you've got kiddos, you'll want to find out how to connect and be prepared to step in on Sunday with us. So go to our website, heightschurch.com. We've got all what's happening is to help keep kids healthy, keep everybody comfortable, and to make it as simple as we can to join in. So bring your kiddos, bring yourself, and join us either in person or online. So that's it for midweek this week. See you for morning coffee Friday at 10, and then Sundays we'll see you too. Much love to you guys. Thanks to John and Kenneth for jumping on, and we will see you guys Sunday, if not before. Much love.
Bye, everyone.